Hello and welcome back to part 2 of chapter 29 of Tanya. So the idea that we're discussing is somebody who is completely insensitive to spirituality, to his soul. And no matter what he tries, he can't manage to penetrate this dullness of heart. And the last resort really is to, in a way, crush his emotions, crush his heart, so to speak, and that way crush that evil spirit, and that will crush that dullness. And we covered a few things to think about in order to do that, and we're continuing to speak about these things, what one should think of in order to accomplish this. Another thing to keep in mind, one can actually learn from his dreams. He should pay attention to the majority of his dreams, which are just vanity and a evil spirit. Why are his dreams so meaningless and contain a lot of evil? Because his soul does not ascend. When a person sleeps, their soul ascends. It's meant to be a ascent for the soul. The idea that is taught is that the soul goes up, receives new life, it gets re-energized. It goes to the soul gas station, repumps with gas, so to speak, and is ready to come back into the world when the person wakes up, re-energized and refreshed. However, over here, the fact that someone is having silly dreams is a sign that his soul is not going high. It's not going to the right place. As it says in the verse, who will come up to the mountain of Hashem? One who has clean hands, etc. Indicating that in order for the soul to properly ascend during one's sleep, he needs to be clean of any evil things. And the evil side, or the evil spirits, attach themselves to him and inform him of mundane matters in his dream. And sometimes they mock him and show him false things and torment him in his dreams, as it says in the Zohar, see there. Behold, kol ma sheyarich binyanim elu b'machshavto v'gam b'iyunu b'sfarim liot libo nishbach b'kirbo v'nivze b'einav nimas. Now, as much as he will do this, and like we said earlier, he needs to set times, but to really take the time to think about these things and also look into different books. I suppose, I'm assuming he's referring to books that are, in a way, meant for moral character, which are called books of Busser, perhaps, that's what he's referring to. Or books along the lines of breaking one's heart inside of him, and think about those kind of things. And he becomes despised in his own eyes, with, as it says in the verse, kaketuv, as it says, betachlit hamius, with complete despising, ulemaes chayav mamash, and to truly despise his own life. שמגביהה את עצמה על אורך קדושת הנפש האלוהית לאח שכחה. And by doing this, by, so to speak, but not by crushing his heart, he makes the evil side despised and embarrassed maybe, and brings down that evil to dirt, and it brings it down from its high point and place of arrogance and haughtiness, because the evil, what does it do? The evil raises itself on the light of the holiness of the godly soul to darken its light. And as we actually are going to say in part 3, I believe chapter 8, that the whole main thing that the evil inside one's heart and evil in general does is basically it is arrogant. So it raises itself up, and what the key to conquering it is basically bringing it down from its high point. So I think to explain what's the logic, it doesn't make sense. I mean, really, if you think about it, you're going to tell yourself that you're terrible, and that's going to motivate you to be a better person. How does that make any sense? It should anyone, if anything, put you down and make you feel worse about yourself. So the answer is, what's the explanation? That the whole reason that you are not doing what you should do, and you're not behaving the way you should behave, and you're not feeling the emotions that you should feel, is because you are arrogant. That's, I think, the explanation. So you need to break that arrogance. You need to break that ego by telling yourself that you're terrible, yes, but that breaks the ego. And then once someone has a broken ego, then the behaviors break, the emotions, the negative behaviors, the negative emotions break, and one can become reborn and become a new person. And another technique is to thunder at the evil inclination with a thundering and loud and I guess maybe angry voice to bring it down. As our sages of blessed memory say, one should always like thunder or rage. That's the word. One should always rage. A person should always rage his good inclination on his evil inclination. As it says in the verse in Psalms, rage and do not sin. Tahainu. So what does it mean to rage? So he's about to say, Lirgoz al nefesh habehamit sheyetz yitzcho hara bekol chash v'rogoz b'machshavto lo machlo. That means to rage at his animal soul, which is his evil inclination, with a loud and raging voice in his thought. So he's not physically speaking, he's instead yelling in his thought. To tell the animal soul, Atara v'rasha mashuk atzumetua v'menuva v'lchulu. You are evil, wicked, despised, and abominable, loathsome, and disgraceful, etc. Like all of the names that the sages of blessed memory named the evil inclination. Yell at it those degrading names. And continue, that's the beginning of the yelling. Call it names. And then number 2, continue telling it. Be'emet. Ad matai taslich lefanai oren sof baruch hu. Until when, truly, will you conceal in front of me Hashem, the light of the Infinite One, blessed be He. HaMemale kol almin, HaYehovah v'yihyeh b'shaveh, who fills all the worlds, and was, is, and will be together. That means that really the past, present, and future is an illusion. As we'll see in part 2 of Tanya, chapter 7, 8, and 9, and further. Gam b'makom zeh sha'ani alav, kemo shehaya or ein sof baruch hu levado kodem sheni v'chahal, b'li shum shinui, kemo shekatuv ani havai lo shiniti. Actually, we said this earlier in chapter 20, I believe 21, or 22 maybe. I think maybe 22, or both. That even the place that I am standing on, he should yell at the animal soul. God is here like he was, or like it says over here, the Infinite One, the light of the Infinite One, blessed be He, is here alone like he was before the world was created, without any change, as it says, I, God, have not changed. Because God is above time. So really this illusion of the universe that we see is concealing. It's a smoke screen that's concealing the reality that God is alone. The same way he was alone before this creation, this world, so too he's alone now. And you, disgusting one, machrisha emet hanireh la'enayim, dekula kame kala mamash be'emet b'bchinat chiyah chushit, are countering or blocking me, censoring, I think is the right word, the truth that is able to be seen with the very eyes, that all is like nothing in front of Hashem, truly, that can be seen with our eyes. So really, if it wasn't for this concealment that the animal soul is concealing, we would see the reality that God is one. As a matter of fact, that's what's going to happen when Mashiach comes. We're actually going to see that reality, the oneness of God, as we're going to see, I believe, in chapter 36 or 37. So now, when a person yells at his evil inclination, these things, ולא בחינת שמיע והבנה לבדה, כמו שכתוב במקום אחר, שזהו שורש כל העבודה. And so through this, he will basically benefit the godly soul to actually give it light to see, or light in its eyes. Those are the words he uses over here. With truly, he will truly lighten the godly soul's eyes with the oneness of the Infinite One, the light of the Infinite One, with tangible seeing. And not just listening and understanding alone, as it's explained somewhere else. That this is the source of the of our service. So basically what it explains in another place is that there's two kinds of perceiving God. Obviously, we can only perceive God through our godly soul. And there's two ways that it perceives God, with its listening. But listening is already distant, because when you hear something that's far away. You're not there. When you see something, you're there, you're present. It's right in front of your eyes. So, what am I getting at? What I'm getting at is that when a person screams, like we just said, at his animal soul, screams in his thoughts, then he will actually lessen the concealment of the animal soul, and he'll allow his godly soul to see godliness better. I'm not going to go into too much, but this is the idea of prophecy, as we'll see in part 2 of Tanya, the end of chapter 2, that the prophets would actually see the godliness behind this world. This world wouldn't conceal. And I'm assuming, but this is the same, basically when a person screams at his animal soul, then he becomes closer and closer to prophecy in a way, because his animal soul conceals less and less the world which conceals God that is one. והטעם לפי שבאמת אין שום ממשות כלל בסתך אחורה, שלכן נמשלה לחושך שאין בו שום ממשות כלל, וממילא נדחה מפני האור. So the reason that this works is because really there is no substance at all to the evil side. So as soon as you yell at it, it disappears. It doesn't have any, feet of its own. It's actually, therefore, it's compared to darkness. Darkness has no substance at all. And therefore, it is automatically pushed away when there's light. You put a light in a dark room, the darkness goes away because it's not substantial. Fine. וכך הסתך אחורה, אף שיש בחיות הרבה להחיות כל בעלי חיים הטמאים, ונפש וטומאות עקום, וגם נפש הבהמית שבישראל כניס כוכלי. So the evil side, even though it has so much life force and vitality, it gives life to all non-kosher animals, it gives life to the Gentile nations, it gives life to the animal soul in the Jewish people. So there's so much life force over there. So you might think it's substantial. Mikol Makom, nevertheless, it's not substantial. Because all this life force is not its own, God forbid. It doesn't have anything of itself. Instead, the life force is from holiness. As we mentioned earlier, that nothing has power besides for God. The evil in this world is like an axe in the hands of a woodchopper. It's all in God's control. So it's really not their life force, it's God's life force. So being that that's the case, it doesn't have any substance. ולכן היא בטלה לגמרי מפני הקדושה. כביטול החושך מפני האור הגשמי. Therefore, it is completely nullified in front of holiness, like the nullification of darkness in front of physical light. רק שלגבי קדושת נפש האלוהית שבאדם נתן לה הקדוש ברוך הוא רשות ויכולת להגביה עצמה כנגדה. כדי שהאדם יתעורר לתקע בחליה להשפילה על ידי שפלות ונמיכת רוחו, ונבזה בעיניו נימס, ובתרותא דלתתא יתרותא דלעילא, לקיים מה שנאמר ושמוריד חנום השם. So the thing is that what God did is he gave the evil a power to, it's not power of its own, but what did God do? He made the evil have a certain dominance to lift itself up against the godly soul in the person. Why did God give it that dominance and that ability? So that the person should become stronger, should awaken and strengthen himself against it, on it, to bring it down, to bring down the evil. And how do we do that? Like we explained in this chapter, through making himself humble and bringing his own spirits down and becoming despised and disregarded in his eyes. And when he has that awakening from below, that means he crushes the evil in himself. Then there's an awakening from above. That God says that he will bring down the evil above. So he's accomplishing so much. He's bringing down evil, not just in him, but even in the entire universe. All the evil gets brought down. דהיינו שמסיחה מממשלתה ויכולתה ומסלק ממנה הכוח ורשות שנתן לה להגביה עצמה נגד אור קדושת הנפש האלוהית. ואז ממילא בטל הברית חטא כביתו לחושך מפני אור הגשמי. That what's that bringing down of the evil? It brings it down from its power and ability and takes away, rips away its power and ability that was given to it, that God gave to it, to lift itself against the light of the holiness of the godly soul. And then automatically, when one does this, when one does what we learned in this chapter, it becomes nullified and pushed away like the nullification of darkness before a physical light. So this actually I think we learned in chapter 12 as well. Fine. We're going to continue and we're going to explain this topic a little bit better. Very interesting explanation over here. We found this explicitly in the Torah. By the spies. Remember the story in the Torah where Moses sent spies to Israel and they came back and they gave a bad report about the land. First they said that they are the people of the land. We're never going to be able to beat them. And they said that they're stronger than us. They didn't just say that they're stronger than us, but they said they're stronger than God. They did not have faith in God's ability. And then right after, 5 minutes later, they said, oh, let's actually go up. Let's go to Canaan. Let's go to the land of Israel. First they said, we don't believe in God's ability to beat these people and these giants that were living in the land. And immediately afterward, they said, no, let's go and conquer the land. So the question is very simple. From where did their belief in God's ability return? Moses didn't show them any miracle in the meantime. So the question is, first they said, we don't believe in God. And then they said, no, let's go, we believe in God. Where did this belief come from? First they said they didn't believe it. Moses didn't show them a miracle. The answer is over here. And this is beautiful because this brings out our point. Instead, Moses told them that God became very angry at them and swore not to bring them into the land. That was what Moses said to them. So what difference does it make what Moses told them? Moses told them that God's not going to bring you in. They didn't believe in God. Its ability, God forbid, to conquer the 31 kings. And therefore they didn't want to go in. Like they're basically saying, we don't believe in God, we don't want to go into Israel. So what does it help for Moses to tell them God's not taking you into Israel? They don't want to go into Israel. So why should they care that God is not going to take them there? How do you explain this story? Really, he says, they always believed. Yisrael, the Jewish nation, themselves are believers, the sons of believers. It's a famous quote. It's just, they believed, they always believed in God. What happened? Why did they say they didn't? Because the evil that was in their body raised itself up on the light of the holiness of their godly soul with great arrogance and haughtiness, with chutzpah, without any reasoning. ולכן מיד שקצף השם עליהם והרי מקולך שפך רוגז עד מטה לעדה הזאת וגומר במדבר זה יופלו פגריכם וגומר אני השם דיברתי אם לא זאת עשה לכל עדה הזאת וגומר. And therefore, because they always believed, and it was just a facade of chutzpah created by their evil inclination, therefore, as soon as God became angry at them and screamed at them with a loud, thundering voice, until when, these were the words of Hashem, until when to this evil congregation, in this desert, their corpses will fall. I, God, have spoken, and I will do this to all of this evil congregation. Those are the verses over there. Listen closely, yeah? When they heard these harsh words, their heart was subdued and broken inside of them. So that evil became crushed. As it says in the verse, after they heard this, that they wouldn't actually go into Israel. They would all die in the desert, as the story goes over there. The verse says that the nation mourned very much. And automatically the evil side fell from its power and its haughtiness and arrogance. V'yischal atzman hem ma'aminim, and the Jewish people themselves believe. So in other words, by them the situation was, first they said they didn't believe, but in truth they believed. Why did they say that they didn't believe? Because the animal soul, that their evil inclination inside was very chutzpah, was very haughty and arrogant, and tried to desensitize them from their godly soul, desensitize them from their belief in God. But as soon as they heard harsh words, that evilness, first of all, their heart became crushed, so the evilness became crushed together with it. And they're like, no, we really believe in God. Let's go to Israel now. So that is the lesson. And one thing also is because the evil doesn't have any substance. It's like darkness. The minute you bring it down, it goes away. Like darkness goes away before light. And this is very, very powerful. Let's make it practical now. This is a lesson every person can take that has thoughts of doubting his faith. Because they are just words of vanity from the evilness itself that raises itself on his soul. It's just the chutzpah from his evil inclination. These thoughts, maybe God doesn't exist, doubts on God, doubts on faith, those are all just chutzpah from the evil inclination. But the Jewish nation themselves believe, etc. And not just that, not only does the Jew believe, not only do you believe, but even the evil itself believes. The evil itself has no doubts in its faith in God. It has permission, the evil has permission to confuse the person with words of falsehood and trickery just to get more reward. The evil gets more reward when it tricks the person, because that's its job. What's the example? I think we brought this in the past. Kipituye hazona leben hamelech b'shekech u'mirma b'chshut hamelech k'mo shekatav b'zohar hakodesh, like the trickery of the prostitute to the prince with falsehood and trickery that the king gave it permission to do, as the Zohar, the Holy Zohar explains. The example over there, the parable is that the king basically sees that his son is a very firm guy. He has his morals straight. He's an ethical man. And he wants to test him. So he pays a prostitute to try to trick him and make him come in. So the prostitute's job is to do that, to trick them. And the more they do it, the more reward they get. But it itself knows that the prince shouldn't give in. And it itself has a direct connection with the king. So too, the evil itself is just making trickery because that's its job. But it believes in God, and surely do you. Thank you for watching.